Hey everyone, so welcome back. So today we are going to be talking about one of my favorite stories of the Bible, the story of Micah's idol. Now, in the Western world, we live in a society that is heavily influenced by Masonic values. And there's a lot of conspiracy theories about Freemasons putting up Masonic architecture, doing secret rituals. But if you look at the Catholic Church's teaching on, and any of the other Christians' teaching on what's wrong with Freemasonry, is that it has a system of values that is radically contrary to what the Bible says and what the Bible teaches. And one of those values is a radical notion of human freedom. You see it all the time today, where people say that, I even met some libertarian, traditional Catholics online, and by the way, spoiler, if you're a libertarian and traditional Catholic, you are not going, I hope you watch this video, but you're not going to like what I'm going to have to say, biblically speaking. This story talks about what happens when you have radical human freedom and just how messed up society can get. Just how much it can wreck people's relationship with God on a societal, massive, and a huge level. Massive level. So, today, if you have your Dewey Reams Bibles with you, I got mine right here. Please turn to Judges 17. And we're going to read Judges chapters 17 through to 18. Quote, there was at that time a man of Mount Ephraim whose name was Micah, who said to his mother, the 1,100 pieces of silver which thou hast put aside for thyself, and concerning which thou didst swear in my hearing, behold, I have, and they are with me. And she said to him, blessed be my son by the Lord. Great God-fearing woman, not so much as you're going to see. So he restored them to his mother, and she said, I have consecrated and vowed this silver to the Lord, that my son may receive it at my hand, and may make it a graven and molten god. So now I deliver it to thee. So, okay, we're committing idolatry in the name of God. Okay, that's not great. And he restored them to his mother, and she took the 200 pieces of silver and gave them to a silversmith to make of them a graven and molten god, which was in the house of Micah. And he separated also a little temple for the god, made also an ephod, and teraphim, that's a priestly garment, and idols. And he filled the hands of one of his sons, and he became his priest. So, under Jewish law at the time, under law of Moses, your priests had to be of the direct male line descendants of Aaron. So, that is not him. So we have an idol whose priest is not of the right tribe or nation tribe. It's it's not looking good so far. And it's pointing out just how messed up this can be in verse 16 of chapter 17 of Judges. It says, quote, those days there was no king in Israel, but everyone did that which seemed right to himself. And what seemed right to this guy is that he make an idol and illicitly ordain one of his sons. People's subjective experience is often wonky and messed up. There's also another young man of Bethlehem of Judah, of the kindred thereof, and he was a Levite and dwelt there. Now when he went out from the city of Bethlehem and desired to sojourn there, sojourn he could find sojourn wherever he should find it convenient for him. When he was come to Mount Ephraim, as he was on his journey, and as turned aside a little into the house of Micah, he asked him whence he came, and answered, I am a Levite of Bethlehem of Judah. I am going to dwell where I can find a place to my advantage. And Micah said, stay with me, and be to me a father and a priest, and I will give thee every year 10 pieces of silver, and a double suit of apparel, and thy victuals, i.e. food. And he was content in abode with the man. It was unto him as one of his sons. And Micah filled his hand, and he had the young man for his priest, saying, now I know God will do me good, since I have a priest of the race of the Levites. So essentially, the Levites were not supposed to be priests. They were essentially like deacons. So if you're a traditional Catholic, imagine a deacon celebrating Mass in front of a statue of Buddha, which they say is a syncretized version of Jesus. This is how messed up it is. God is not happy with this, if you look at these passages. Chapter 18. Those days there's no king in Israel, and the tribe of Dan sought them an inheritance to dwell in. So, tribal autonomy, yay! For they unto that day they had not received their lot among the other tribes. So you've got an entire tribe not following God's command to take the land allotted to them. You got a man committing idolatry, ordaining people illicitly to the priesthood. This is what the fruits. The Bible says, "By fruits you should know them," and this is what radical freedom, radical liberty brings about. That's the fruit of it. This is what these two chapters are all about. So the children of Dan sent 5 valiant men, other stock, and a family from Sarah to Eshtaol to spy out the land and view it diligently. They said to them, "Go and view the land." When they were on their way, they came to Mount Ephraim, and went into the house of Micah and rested there. And knowing the voice of the young man, the Levite, and lodging with him, they said to him, "Who brought thee hither? What dost thou here? Why wouldst thou come hither?" And he answered them, Micah hath done such and such things for me, and hath hired me to be his priest. Then he desired him to consult the Lord, that he might know whether their journey should be prosperous, the thing have effect. And he answered, "Go in peace, the Lord looketh on your way, and the journey that you go." So the 5 men went to Lachish, and they saw how the people dwelt there without any fear, according to the custom of the Sidonians, secure and easy, having no man at all to oppose them, being very rich and living separated and at a distance from Sidon and from all men. They returned to their brethren in Sarah and Eshtaol, who asked them what they had done, to whom they answered, "Arise, let us go up with them, for we have seen the land, which is exceedingly rich and fruitful. Neglect it not, lose no time. Let us go and possess it. There will be no difficulty. We shall come to a people that is secure, into a spacious country. The Lord will deliver the place to us, which there is no want of anything that groweth on the earth." There went therefore all the kindred to Dan, to wit from Sarah and Eshtaol, 600 men furnished with arms for war. And going up the lodge in Catharim of Judah, which place from that day is called the camp of Dan. It is behind Catharim. From thence they passed into Mount Ephraim. Here you're going to find out what happens when people have liberty and no laws, and people can do what they are free to do what they think is best. Not so great. The 5 men that before had been sent to view the land, Elias said to the rest of the brethren, "You know that in these houses there is an ephod, and a teraphim, and a graven and molten god. See what you are pleased to do." When they had turned a little aside, they went into the house of the young man, the Levite, who was in the house of Micah, and they saluted him with words of peace. And the 600 men stood before the door, appointed with their arms. But they that were gone into the house of the young man went about to take away the graven god and the ephod, and the teraphim, and the molten god. And the priest stood before the door, the 600 men waiting not far off. So they that were gone in took away the graven things, and the god, and the idols, and the molten god. And the priest said to them, "What are you doing?" And said, "Hold thy peace, and put thy finger on thy mouth. Come with us, that we may have thee for a father and a priest. Whether it be better for thee to be a priest in the house of one man, or in a tribe and a family in Israel." When he had heard this, he agreed to the words, and took the ephod and the idols and the graven god, and departed with them. So, let's take a list of the sins. We got this is what freedom, when there's no king in Israel and everyone does what's right in their own eyes. This is what we got so far. We have idolatry. We have illicit ordination of priests illicitly, who are not eligible for the position at all. And theft. And raiding people's houses. And there's more. And when they were going forward and had put before them the children and the cattle and all that was valuable, and were now at a distance from the house of Micah, the men that dwelt in the house of Micah gathered together followed them, began to shout after them. They looked back and said to Micah, "What aileth thee? Why dost thou cry?" And he answered, "You have taken away my gods, which have made me, and the priests, and all that I have. Why do you say, what aileth thee? Like, you've taken everything. You robbed me blind. Of course I'm going to be upset." And the children of Dan said to him, See that thou say no more to us, lest the man in rage come upon thee, and thou perish with all thy house. So to wrap up, idolatry, illicit ordination of priests, and theft, they now make death threats. And so they began to went on the journey they had begun, but Micah, seeing that they were stronger than he, returned to his house. The 600 men took the priest and the things we spoke before, and came to Laish, to a people that was quite secure, and smote them with the edge of the sword, and the city was burnt with fire. There being no man at all who brought them any succor, because they dwelt far from Sidon, and had no society or business with any man. And the city was in the land of Moab. They rebuilt it and dwelt therein, calling the name of the city Dan, after the name of their father, who was the son of Israel, which before was called Laish. And they set up to themselves the graven idol. And Jonathan, the son of Gershom, the son of Moses, he and his sons were priests in the tribe of Dan until the day of their captivity. The idol of Micah remained with them all the time that the house of God was in Silo. In those days there was no king in Israel. So that's a lot of messed upness, one on top of the other. Who's the good guy in that story? Is there a good guy? It's like multiple levels of evil, violence, sin, disobedience, one upon the other. By the way, the location of Dan is, for I understand, further north, away from the land that God had allotted to the tribe of Dan. There's a lot of messed up things that are just messed up and disobedient. The lesson of the story is that total freedom, radical liberty is not God's will. It leads to people being corrupt, immoral, doing things which are wrong and harmful to others, even on a human level. And I know so many people today, because of American influence, think that radical freedom is just wonderful. It's not. It's a false idol. It is something that we need to pluck out of our hearts. We need to we need to lay aside our freedoms and not value it more than we value God's law. Yes, this does mean certain cultural practices and values held by certain people, notably in the United States, need to be laid aside, just as there are cultural practices in other societies that need to be laid aside. There's a lot of witchcraft in a lot of Eastern European cultures. They need to abandon that if they want to be saved. You got to abandon these radical notions and values of personal liberty. Even to have a simple, happy, and ordered life, even if, never mind, have salvation. I know, and one of the things that frustrates me is I know a lot of people who do not care about the Bible, and they have made freedom in and of itself. I even know one Tradcath who used to go to my mission. He told me that he didn't like certain laws that were being made. He wasn't going to obey them because God gave him free will, and laws were interfering with his free exercise of free will. God also gave laws to Moses that could be enforced. The Bible in the New Testament says, I believe in Romans, that the king is supposed to be there to be a terror to evildoers. You don't become a terror to evildoers by suggesting things to them. We should not have this radical liberty. Yes, those in authority over us can command and, yes, compel and should. That is what the Bible teaches. And when they don't, we end up with situations like we've seen in these 2 chapters of Judges. Anyway, God bless. Have a great day. If you ever got a chance to check out an SSPX chapel, I highly recommend it. God bless.